Dale Semper is a respectable and successful bank manager with a high street bank. He earns £72,000 a year. In 2017, he was stopped, he was arrested, he was handcuffed in front of his neighbours, and he says it's because he's black.
And he's now suing the Metropolitan Police for £1 million, accusing them of racial profiling. The police brought no charges and told us they've apologised for comments made by an officer that could be perceived as discriminatory.
Really? That's not bad for a young lad from Montserrat, is it? He's clearly up to something. He's got 14 properties. He lives in luxury. Everything is immaculate. I mean, he may be, but where's he getting all that? What is he, a bank manager? Surely he's up to something.
He was wrongly arrested, let us remind you, for money laundering. His house was searched for guns. His bank accounts were frozen and he was suspended from his job. And Dale Semper joins us now alongside his partner, Denise Huggan, whose house was also searched by the police. And we're also joined by his lawyer, Andrew Ford. Well, I'd like to say a very good morning to you, but it sounds like you've been through hell. Thank you for joining us, Dale. Just take us back to August 2017, when this first happened. Yeah. Police stopped you driving, didn't they?
Yeah.
What did you think at that point?
At that time when they stopped me, I was just thinking to myself, what's actually going on? Is this actually happening right now?
What did they say?
They said, get out of the car, we're arresting you for firearms. And I'm like, firearms?
You were just driving, it was a normal day for you up to that point?
Normal day, I'm dropping my partner to the train station because she's about to fly out because of a funeral. And they stopped me and said, we're stopping you because we're arresting you for firearms. I'm like, you got the wrong guy. I said, I'm a bank manager. What is wrong with you? What are you on about? This can't be happening to me, you know? And then from then, when they stopped me and did that, they then took me back to my property, started searching my property, and...
Still looking for guns at this point?
Still looking for guns at this point.
Did they give you any explanation as to why they suspected that you had a gun?
Nothing whatsoever. Nothing at all whatsoever. They just suspected me of having a gun. They said, when they came in the house, they said, you're living above your means. The neighbour...
How could they know what your means were?
You know, up to this minute, I still do not understand. I'm like, you don't even know what I do. You didn't even ask me. There's nothing. There's nothing whatsoever. I've been working for such a long time. I've actually grafted so much. I'm trying to provide for my family. And for me, I just find all of this just total madness. Yeah. Why are you in my house? Why are you searching? Why are you doing this?
When they were in... Because we just played a version of the comments that were made.
Yeah.
And when they were in your house, was that comment made then? Did they look around your house and that's when one of the officers said, not bad for a lad from Montserrat?
Yeah.
And why do you think they said that?
When you think about it, just think back. Would you actually say not bad for a young lad from Cambridge? Would you say something like that? I just think that's not something you would say, unless it's that.
So the first allegation was that you had firearms.
Yeah.
The second allegation was that you were money laundering.
Yeah.
Now, what's the reason that they gave for the belief that you, a respectable, successful bank manager, on a very good salary, what was their suspicion that you were money laundering?
Up to this day, I still have no clue whatsoever, because even on that particular day, when they've searched the property and they found money in my house, I had about £1,900 in my safe.
Yeah.
And from that, they gave my partner £100 to get to the airport. And then after that, they said, we're de-arresting you for firearms, but we're arresting you now for money laundering. I'm like, but you're just giving her £100 out of the same money you're accusing me of being a launderer, a money launderer.
What it boils down to is this, isn't it? Let's cut to the chase here. They couldn't believe or accept that a black guy could live in the kind of house that you were living in, could have a reasonable amount of cash in the safe, could be driving a nice car, and basically leading a pleasant, civilised, well-heeled life. They couldn't believe it because you were black.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to, isn't it?
Yeah, that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel, because I feel like you just got this box that you put us in that you're not supposed to excel past that. That's where you're supposed to be.
And you were suspended, were you, from your job?
Yeah, I was suspended for 15 months.
15 months?
Yeah, I was suspended for 15 months.
You've returned to work, though, haven't you?
I've gone back to work.
And being supported by your employer, I hope?
I'd rather not to even talk about them.
OK, fair enough. But Denise, you have had to offer support in this case, and you even had your house searched as well. What's been the impact on the whole family, and what have you seen as the impact on Dale?
Throughout the investigation, I think the impact on Dale has been that we've all lived in limbo, wondering what's going to happen, because the fear of not knowing, because the police wasn't telling us what was going on other than they were investigating. So it's that fear of living at home and not knowing what was going to happen or what else they were going to throw at us. I saw Dale lost weight, stopped sleeping, stopped eating, and just kind of being a shell of himself, just hiding in the house, stop going out. You know, normally we'll be jolly, we go out with friends, and we were held in our house as prisoners because we were fearing
And has it left you both apprehensive? It would me. Going about your normal business now, like driving around London, driving on the streets. When you see a police car, do you get anxiety?
Yeah, I actually got that fear. I feel like you've actually broken me. I feel like I'm so broken. I got that fear now, whereas before I was so outgoing, not scared of anything. But I got that fear.
Because if it's happened once...
It happened once. It's happened twice. They've came to my house on a second.
Exactly.
On a second time. And the second occasion, I've had more money in my safe. But this time, after arresting me at the time, they then de-arrested me and said, we can't arrest you for anything. I'm like, but this time I've got over 2,500 in my safe. Why are you not arresting me this time? He said, you're below the minimum standard that you should keep within your property.
What?
I'm like, but the last time you arrested me for having £1,900.
It's insane, isn't it?
Like,
can we turn to your lawyer here, Andrew Ford? Hello, Andrew. Thanks for joining us this morning. I was saying to Dale in the commercial break before this interview that when I was reading the blow-by-blow account last night of what happened to him, I felt as if I was reading something that had happened to a black man in Mississippi. You know, it just seemed so off the scale. What's your reaction as a lawyer?
I mean, you've heard those comments made on the body-worn videos of the police officers, which is considering they're police officers who are supposed to be policing our streets with a big black community in London. It's concerning, to say the least, isn't it?
Well, it is. Also, what he has experienced seems so disproportionate. How have you alighted on an amount of money which is £1 million?
Because the proceedings are ongoing, we can't specifically break down how we've come to that figure, but it's clearly justified. The significant psychological damage which Dale, Denise and Dale's mother Lynette have suffered, Dale's loss of earnings, we say. His career has plateaued, not because it naturally would have plateaued, but because he was suspended for 15 months. It's going to have a big impact on someone's career, of course. So that makes up the large part. But there's also the emotional side of things. Dale and Denise would have been looking to have a family within this time, and it's been hanging over them. And Denise used the word being in limbo. They've been in limbo for 7 years now.
I wonder, Dale, I mean, what you're describing is sort of symptoms of trauma, isn't it? And fear and anxiety. I mean, it even affected your ability to travel, didn't it? Just describe what happened with with travel plans and...
Oh, it's the craziest thing.
Was your passport taken away from you?
No, strangely enough, my passport wasn't taken away from me.
But was a mark made against?
There was a marker put on my passport when I was coming back in from Gatwick Airport. They put a mark on my passport and I got stopped where my friends didn't even know I had this issue with the police before because I kept it to myself because I was so embarrassed. So when I was flying back, I was stopped in the airport, I was detained, and they done a search and I said, what's going on? They said, there's a mark on your passport and you should know why.
So you're literally a marked man?
Yeah.
Do you mean, but hang on, the mark indicating that you're a person of suspicion?
Yeah.
And should be treated as such by customs officials?
But up to this day, we still don't know what the marker is. They haven't
told us.
Is it
still on the passport?
Well, who knows?
And now when you travel... You must think every time, I'm going to get stopped, I'm going to have to explain, none of this was true, I'm a completely innocent man.
This is Kafkaesque, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
I'm literally
Can I just
terrified.
ask your lawyer, briefly, what vibe are you getting from the Met on this? Are they ashamed? Are they apologetic? I mean, obviously, they're going to want to guard their position in terms of a settlement, but are they expressing any kind of...
Unfortunately not.
regret?
And unfortunately, the kind of ill treatment of Dale and his family continues into the litigation. So not only was the criminal investigation bad enough for these guys to deal with, they had to Dale's bank accounts were restrained, his assets were restrained. But it also continued into litigation where we've been requesting disclosure since 2019. Mm-hmm. We've only received partial disclosure still even now. We got some disclosure in 2022, but
Can you get this mark off his passport?
So now he's no longer under investigation. That mark's less likely to be there. But the context of all of this is there was a second warrant executed in 2019. So not only did they go in 2017, not find a gun, arrested him on the spurious claim of money laundering because they found a bit of cash in a safe. But they came back in 2019 looking for a gun again, even though they didn't find one on the first occasion. And they didn't find a gun, but they have justified the warrant based on some outlandish allegations of human trafficking, of terrorism.
What?
And it's almost as though they're going to court to make these applications for a warrant and throwing out as much mud as they can, hoping that something could stick. If they'd backed down in 2017 and said, we had intelligence, we made a mistake, there was no gun, we're very sorry, we'll leave you to it.
Have they ever produced that intelligence? Have they ever suggested that they had intelligence?
They've suggested they have intelligence. We don't know what the source of that intelligence was, and we don't know how credible it was.
No.
But they pinned...
But it was completely false.
Exactly. Well, we know that because there was no firearms found on either of occasion. But what we do know is that they've requested that... They've gone on to carry on a over 2-year investigation based purely on this spurious allegation.
Smacks, absolutely, doesn't it? I said earlier of a Franz Kafka novel, of a description of a police state. Mm-hmm. There seems to be absolutely no rhyme or reason other than blatant prejudice.
Exactly. It's racially profiling Dale because they couldn't get something to stick in the first place, and they thought, this guy's living a life of luxury, there must be something going on, and it's explicit in those body-worn video captures that you've heard.
I'm so sorry, Dale. I'm so sorry you had to go through this. It's just appalling. It's disgusting.
Yeah. The Metropolitan Police did provide a statement. The complaints were thoroughly investigated by professional standards officers and concluded with no finding of misconduct against any of the officers involved. During the investigation of these complaints, a separate allegation was raised of discriminatory comments made to one of the claimants, and all allegations of this nature are taken extremely seriously. The Met is clear any form of discrimination will not be tolerated. This allegation was also investigated. The investigation found comments that could be perceived as discriminatory were made, and we apologise to the claimant. The officer who made the comments would likely have been subject to further action had he not already resigned from the Met. So that officer who made those comments resigned.
Yeah, that's how they're telling me, it's OK because that officer's actually resigned. I don't know, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. You haven't actually done anything at all about it, and until we see something come from the top.
How widespread, Dale, do you think this issue is? That you're a successful black man earning an amount of money that allows you to have a property rental portfolio, that allows you to have some cash. You're earning a good salary, but there is still a perception you're not allowed that because you're black, because there must be something else going on because you're a black man. How widespread do you think that prejudice is still?
You know what? You would have thought by this time that these things, it doesn't exist anymore, but it's still here. And I feel like there's something needs to actually happen to stop this.
Yes.
But I feel like enough is not being done. And I feel that they've got no one that's actually accountable for actually these actions, what's actually happening. Because during the time, we've made the responses to the 2 different Met commissioners, and basically we're getting nothing. Not even a sit-down chat, having a discussion with us saying, how do we go forward? There's nothing.
Yeah. And Denise, how do you feel that's still a persistent prejudice?
Absolutely, and that's the fear now living in the UK, and we've now been faced with this, and we don't feel that nothing's been learnt. It's just kind of a smokescreen. There's a lot of talking going on. The Met Commissioner's talking, but where's the action? Where's the follow-through? We need accountability, and there isn't any accountability.
Well, thank you both for coming in to talk to us, Dale and Denise and Angie. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.